Okay, hi everybody. Once again, we are still dealing with the same questions in phonology, and we are trying to answer them. Okay. The first question: how do you find out what the underlying form, the phoneme, is? Are some rules more natural, more likely common than others? How generally does a rule apply? Now, finding out the underlying form, the hypothesis, we have got to work by means of a hypothesis in this case. The rules tend to be simple and natural. So we have got simplicity and naturalness as criteria to judge rules. So we have to pick the underlying form so that the rules will be simple and natural. What's a simple rule and what's a natural rule? Example from southern Congo. Okay, we are going to consider two different sounds, the non-palatal z and the palatal j. And especially in words, we have got these ones here where we have got z, and we have got these words where we have got j. Okay. Now, we are going to talk about their distribution, that is, the position or the positions where they are going to be found in these words. Now, of course, we have to organize the data to look at the distribution of both sounds. So we can say z occurs here, 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 and here. J occurs here, here, and here. In this way, this is going to help us understand their phonetic environment. It's going to enable us formulate a phonological rule to show where this sound occurs and where this sound occurs. Okay. So, in fact, we can say that the non-palatal z occurs before this sound and this sound and this sound. Look in here, this one, and this one, also this one. These are the sounds that occur, if you like, after z. So we can say, in fact, we can talk about two different rules. We can say this sound becomes z when it is followed by this one, this one, this one. Or we can have another rule. This sound, z, becomes j in the context where it is followed by just e. Let's go back to our data to find this here. Look, z is followed by this sound, followed by this sound, followed by this sound. These three sounds. Okay. But this one is always followed by just this one, e, here. So which rule are we going to consider? Can we say that z becomes j in this context where it is followed by e? Or can we say that j becomes z when it is followed by this one, and by this sound here? These are the rules. J can become z in the context where it is followed by this one and this one here. Or we can say z becomes j when it is followed by just e. So, in fact, this is the underlying form or the phoneme here. Okay. What about naturalness? We know that certain processes are more natural, common than others. If the rule that you hypothesize involves a natural common process, that makes it at least plausible, that it means that you are on the right track. Now, let's talk about some common processes. For example, assimilation. This is common process number one, which is assimilation. Let's talk about the flapped t in American English. It can be pronounced as d between two voiced sounds or vowels. The voiced sound t becomes the voiced sound d. Earlier, we considered the example where t can be pronounced as d. Here, it can be, we can talk about whispered vowels in Japanese. This is another example. when especially between two voiceless consonants. When it is placed between two voiceless consonants, it becomes whispered. So certain vowels become, not becomes, but become, just omit the S in here. Certain vowels become voiceless. Okay. We can talk about regressive assimilation. Here we can talk about the effect of the nasal sound on the vowel, just before it. So we can talk about regressive. So, for example, bon. So the vowel O, it becomes nasalized on. This is due to the influence of the following sound n. Bin, pine, hand. Okay. Now here it's when we say net. If we consider that the N may influence the vowel here, it's not regressive, but it is going to be progressive here. Progressive assimilation. If we assume that there is nasalization in this case here. Okay. Regressive assimilation, here we have got a vowel followed by a nasal sound, which is a consonant. It affects its quality. It makes of it nasalized one. This is the rule in here. Okay. Now we can talk about progressive assimilation as in cases of devoicing of liquids in English here. When we have got especially L, immediately following a voiceless stop like P, this L is not totally voiced, but we can say it is devoiced, just because of the influence of the voiceless sound which is placed before it. So same thing in play, same thing in pray. R, we know, is a voice sound, but when it is preceded by P, here it becomes devoiced. Same thing for R in tray, R in cray. And in, for example, ru, the R here is completely voiced. But in pru, in fact, here it's devoiced. True, crew. All these sounds, here, are preceded by voiceless stops. P, t, k. So these sounds are likely to have some kind of influence on the pronunciation of R. They make of it a devoiced one. Okay. So this is the case here. Okay, this is the rule. Okay. This is the voiceless sound, which affects the L following it. It makes of it devoiced. Now, we can talk about dissimilation, the opposite of assimilation. Pronunciation of a diphthong as diphthong. Okay, so we are trying to make the two sounds. F is fricative and th is fricative. So we try to make f, which is fricative, more, different, more unlike. It's different from the fricative following it. We make of f a stop. So instead of saying diff, we say dip, to make them different. Okay? Let's consider the change in pilgrim, peregrino. So instead of L, we have got R. It used to be peregrino. It becomes Spanish pellegrino here. Okay. Now, common processes still, we are dealing with another one that we call deletion here. Of course, the deletion is the noun which is derived from the verb to delete, to omit. Okay. So, t after n, for example, panty. The way it is written, it's panty. But normally, the way native speakers pronounce it, not panty, but they pronounce it as panny, panny. So 20, as it is written, normally it's pronounced in a rapid colloquial speech. It's not 20, but it's 20. Okay, so we can also talk about the deletion of the schwa before stress syllable. So normally it is supposed to be police, but normally here it is normally pronounced as please. So the vowel is omitted. So suppose, sometimes it becomes just suppose. And same thing for carouse, it's just carouse here. So normally deletion, it means simply that the omission of a certain segment in a certain phonetic environment. Now we can talk about epenthesis, for example, t between n and s. Instead of saying, sans, we try to add some kind of t between n and sans. Prince, normally, there is some kind of tendency to insert this t between n and s. P can be also inserted between m and s. For example, in Thompson, we tend to insert the p between m and s. Thompson here. So this is just a case of epenthesis. It's a special case of a common process. We can also talk about metathesis, which is the change of the order of two segments in the same word. It can be similar to what we call a slip of the tongue. Instead of saying ask, some people may mispronounce the word and say axe here. So, in general, rules should be simple, natural. And there is one more consideration: rules should capture generalizations. A rule to be considered a real rule, it should be general. How generally does a rule apply? A possible rule to account for hone, bone, stone. This O becomes own. It becomes nasalized after N. But what about hand, pin, ham? Which means that we can have another general rule which is not just about the vowel O, it can be about all vowels. It should generalize, across all vowels here. So V becomes nasalized, any vowel can become nasalized in the context where it is followed by a nasal sound. This is the place for the nasal sound, and this is the segment that follows it. It is a nasal sound. Okay, so this one is more general than this one in here. This one is specific because it concerns only one vowel, but here it concerns all vowels that become nasalized in the context where they are followed by nasal sound here. Okay. You want to hypothesize a rule as general as your data will permit. Further data may lead you to narrow your rule, but this is the way to start. Okay, so we can talk about natural classes. The idea of natural classes, it means that normally we tend to group sounds into groups because those sounds share some common phonetic features, and the fact that they share phonetic features, they allow us to include them under the same phonological rules. And that's why we say rules don't apply in the neighborhood of random collections of sounds. Rules don't affect random collections of sounds. Same thing here. Okay? That's all. I think we need to see another, chapter in linguistics. Now we have done with phonology as a chapter. I need my students to go back to the book I asked them to read and to go to the section of exercises there and to consider them and try to answer all the exercises. If we have got an opportunity, we are going to correct all the exercises together. Same thing applies to the first chapter, which is phonetics. I would like you, all of you, of course, to go and have a look at the exercises in the end of the chapter called phonetics. And I would like you to try to work your mind a little bit and to try to answer all those questions. And we will try, I hope this period is going to be a very short one. This crisis is going to be of a short existence in our life. So we're going to have the opportunity to work on the exercises together. So these are two chapters that we have finished right now. And we're going to begin another chapter, which is morphology, later on, inshallah. Okay, good luck.